Welcome back, guys. Today's video we're going over team building in Aether Gazer. Aether Gazer's team building system is very fun to experiment with because there's multiple ways to put together teams. It's not always about putting characters of the same element together. There's still certain ways you're going to what to build your teams, but we do have a lot more freedom to use the characters that you actually want to use in Aether Gazer. So there's going to be three main ways to go about building your teams in an intelligent way. First is by element, second is by faction, third is by ultimate skill chain. Let's start with the more traditional way, building teams by element. First is the traditional way you would build your teams in most gacha games. Building teams by elements usually will result in having beneficial effects for the whole team. For example, the Thunder team would consist of Tsukiyomi, Berthandi, and either Kotachi or S-Shu. All of these characters have something that can support the main DPS. Kotachi has a 30% elemental resistance shred. Berthandi has ultimate charge and can also boost lightning damage if you have her signature key. I can say similar things about the Wind team as well, so there's going to be benefits for building teams within the same element. So this is basic, but it does still work. So if you find yourself with a full team of one element and you like the characters, then feel free to build those characters as a team because there will be benefits to having a mono element team later on in in-game content. Second way of team building is building by character faction. So building characters by their faction will actually give team-wide buffs to the whole team, and there's two tiers of this buff depending on whether you have 2 or 3 characters of the same faction in the team. Honestly, I found a use for every single faction bonus. All of them has some pretty decent buffs, which includes starting the fight off with full resources with the Sacred Tree Yggdrasil faction, or the Nero faction can give extra crit rate and crit damage, which is always good. Olympus can prolong modifier mode with their bonus. So there's some useful things when considering the faction bonuses, and it's always a good starting point when looking for teams to build. Our third way of building teams is building the team off of their ultimate skill chain. You might have noticed that one of the big attractions for Aether Gazer is the flashy animations that comes with the ultimate skill chains. This is one of my favorite parts of Aether Gazer because a lot of them are not only flashy, but they come with some very beneficial effects. Some of them aren't worth building a team around, but for the most part, ultimate skill chains are a very good way to go about building a team. Any benefits a character has with their ultimate skill will now be amplified when you use their ultimate skill chains. So for example, with Kotachi, instead of only being able to reduce the resistance of one element, when Kotachi uses her ultimate skill chain, she'll be able to reduce the resistance of all those elements she uses, totaling a 4 element resistance shred at the same time, which is pretty powerful if you're using a multi-element team. So these three ways are the basics of team building in Aether Gazer, but we can go a little further and try to also overlap these three techniques to try to get the best out of your characters in the team. So let's look at a couple examples so we can see exactly what a well-built team looks like. So Tsukiyomi, Oku, and Buzenbo are going to be one of the strongest teams in the game upon release. The reason this team is so strong is because there's a mixture of all three of the basics in here, plus we have heals. We have the full faction bonus, which the Shino faction bonus will pretty much give more damage. We have an ultimate skill chain in the team, with Tsukuyomi and Buzembo. It's not the best skill chain out there, but it's still very beneficial for the team because it boosts lightning damage and also triggers zero time space to maybe give Tsukuyomi some time to get her combo off. And then we have two of the same elements, but this isn't so important unless you're a whale and can invest in Buzembo's ki. Then you'll have support from both Buzembo and Oku because Buzembo's ki will have a defense shred attached to it. So I did want to mention that just in case any whales are watching. On top of all this, Oku is one of the best supports for Tsukuyomi specifically because Oku can give extra rage to Tsukuyomi and also reduce the cooldown for her third skill, which is very powerful for Tsukuyomi specifically. Oku's one of the most powerful supports in the game to begin with, but paired with Tsukuyomi, she becomes amazing. Alright, let's look at one more team and we'll be done. Hades, Oneros, and Hera is one of the strongest teams in the game currently. This team works because, again, it's a mixture of the basics. We have the full faction bonus, which is very powerful with Hades because, in my personal experience, Hades is one of the fastest characters to trigger modifier mode, and since the Olympus faction bonus buffs modifier mode, it just fits pretty perfectly with Hades. We also have an ultimate skill chain, which is amazing for this team specifically. It gives both Hades and Hera a resource regeneration effect and also buffs both of their damage 60% for 12 seconds. So I would say this is one of the better skill chains out there. And then we have two of the same elements. Oneros has the ability to support both dark and light damage dealers. She also has heals and she also has damage reduction capabilities. So she's an amazing support unit for this team. Her AI is kind of clunky to be honest, but when she does what she's supposed to do, then she's phenomenal. One last detail on team building is going to be which Mimir you bring with you to the fight. Depending on which Mimir you use can change how your team functions, and some Mimirs will mess up the way certain teams function, so it's important to know which Mimir will benefit your team the best. In the early stages of the game, most people will just use the pink Mimir, but once your teams become stronger, then you can start to try out different Mimirs for your teams. The Mimirs that gives the best effects are the pink Mimir, of course, the resource game Mimir, who's very overpowered with S rank Hera. We have the ninja Mimir that can give extra crit rate and helps charge ults. And then the blue Mimir will extend modifier mode. This is very powerful for your Hades team or teams that are built around modify mode, which you can do, but those are the Mimirs to look out for. So to close this out, I just want to say I've had so much fun with team building and Aether Gazer. It's one of my favorite games to grind up characters and try them out in different teams. There's still meta teams out there, but we do have a little more freedom with how we go about building different team compositions. It's not always, oh, this character is the fire element, so they're gonna go on the fire team. You can do that, but you can also go on another path. You can keep it simple, or you can try to get a little more creative, which is one of the things I love about this game. So I hope this helps people out. Any questions, feel free to ask down below. I'll try to help to my best ability. It's a pixelated homie. I hope y'all have a great day. I'll catch y'all in the next video.